Welcome to Women in the Middle Entrepreneurs, the podcast that gives you an unfiltered, behind-the-scenes look at what it's really like being a woman in the middle who's over 50 and following her entrepreneurial dreams. Grab a superhero cape, girlfriend, because you deserve one. I'm your host, Master Certified Life Coach and Midlife Mentor, Suzy Rosenstein, and I am excited to inspire you with interviews that feature all of this midlife amazingness. Let's go. Hey there, welcome back to the show. We have another really exciting interview ahead of us about helping clients become more secure about their finances. Today, you'll be meeting Lori Atwood, a woman in the middle entrepreneur whose business, Fearless Finance, provides expert fiduciary financial planning advice to people who traditionally felt left out of old school financial planning industry, specifically women. Welcome to the show, Lori. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really happy to be here.
I'm always happy to talk about money because it's such a thing for people. It's such a thing. So I know we're going to have a great conversation about your midlife entrepreneur story. We'll be talking about your business and what's going really well, and also what midlife issues might be getting in your way to some extent and maybe challenging for you in your life as well as being a business owner. So I always start out with a question about age. How old are you? How long have you been an entrepreneur? And what it is that you do in the world?
So I am 58 and I've been an entrepreneur since 2014. What is that? So almost 11 years. And the way I started, so I had my daughter. I've been in finance for the last 30 years, 25, 30 years. The last deal I did was with Lehman Brothers before it fell over dead in 2008. And my husband said, well, you've always wanted to stay home. She was just born in 2000, at the end of 2007. You always wanted to stay home with her. You know, you're not going to get a bonus for the next couple of years. So why don't you resign and do that? And I did. And so I stayed home with her for a couple of years. And I was still all the while thinking, what am I going to do next? What am I going to do next?
Hey, hang on, Lori. Hang on a minute. You just get a suggestion and you're like, okay.
No. We'd been talking about it.
Oh, okay. Because I'm like, that's a huge decision.
No. It was one of those things we had always been talking about. But, when the Great Recession happened, it was, he's like, well, why don't you just do it? And I'm like, yeah, I really should, because it can be paralyzing.
Oh, yeah.
Trying to think about going out on your own when you're used to a certain salary and you're used to doing X, Y, and Z. And so having him be like, yeah, why don't you do that? It meant that we needed to tighten our belt slightly, but not in a way that was like bone crushing or anything. And so while she was, really young, I was at home with her, and then I was always thinking, what am I going to do next? And I wanted to own my own business. And so I started making these little videos of parenting, like how to detangle hair and how to deal with bullies. And I interviewed experts. And this is right at the beginning of social media. And I'm like, wow, these are the information is really good, but my gosh, they're boring. So I need to figure out how to make them more engaging. And so I called up everyone I knew. And I said, can I come and do a personal finance seminar for free and video myself so that I can mess around with the formatting? And they were like, sure. So I went to like yoga studios and churches and preschools and all of those. And I did it. And people came up to me and said, do you take clients? And so I finally said, yes. And so I took clients under the rubric of coaching for a year and a half. And then I got my CFP and I got regulated appropriately as a full financial planner. And that is when it all started.
So when you had this brainwave, which was a really good one, to teach something and to get it videoed, even when you were at the beginning, like that's pretty bold, and learning editing and learning social media, like all of that. But when you were doing that, did it occur to you that somebody might want to work with you?
Never in a million years.
I love that.
And I think it was because I was so focused on what I was trying to do. I never really thought about alternatives. And the alternative now, looking back, was so obvious. But what I saw was this unbelievable demand for financial fiduciary, meaning with your best interests at heart, demand for advice that wasn't like selling insurance products and wasn't trying to manage all of your assets and put you in the latest crypto, this or that. That people just needed to know what to do when the basement flooded or when an elderly parent needed some help or whatever it was, whatever it is, extra testing for a child. And it didn't exist. And so there I was.
Well, we don't wanna just gloss over that because you coulda just kept doing what you were doing.
Totally. Yeah, I could have. I could have. But I thought, let's be open to opportunities. And, it's funny because when I look back on it, the first year, like, I have everything organized in Google Drive, right? And so I have a folder that just said clients because it was a side thing.
Hmm.
And then it just got bigger and bigger. And in 2019, I took on two associates who are still with me. And then in 2021, we got regulated by the SEC so we can work in all 50 states and with Americans abroad. And, I have 7 planners now, and we're providing virtual fiduciary advice by the hour.
Amazing. It's really interesting, and I find that when I speak to women on this show, it's very common to hear people glossing over and undervaluing the bravery and and faith that the belief that you have to have in yourself to take those next steps that have no guarantee. We're usually operating on a
That's right.
hunch, right? It's a bit of a hunch, and it's often a surprise that there's a need and that somebody thinks we can help in that capacity.
Well, one of the things I've noticed about the entrepreneurial journey in general is, and now I recognize it in other entrepreneurs, is that i- 2 things. We all live in what in finance we call the tail event, which is the worst case scenario possible, where the probability is like a billion to one, but every entrepreneur is going to be like, "Oh, and so when that happens, when a regular person would be like, that's crazy, that is such a low probability." So that's the first thing. The second thing that I've always noticed with us is we constantly live in the plan B. We live in the plan B. Oh no, no, this is all going to go away, I'm sure. I'm going to need to get a job somewhere else. We live in that world.
Except when you start to hire people. I mean, you can still be in that world, but that's a bit of
It's a different
a
thing when you
different it's a
hire.
different thing, yeah, and a lot of, some women have definitely talked about that on the
Yeah.
show, so well done, look at you, and I love one other question I wanted to ask was, do you think you would have come to the idea of going out on your own like this as an entrepreneur? Would you have come to that on your own instead of responding to your husband's suggestion? Like, he really put a spotlight on it.
Well, he was secondary, although it doesn't sound like that from the telling. I had, you know, kind of gone on and on about how I wanted to work for myself for he was sick of listening to it,
Yeah.
basically.
Uh-huh.
And, sometimes like you just need somebody to be like, yeah, that's not that crazy. And yeah, I mean, it's like hiring someone, right? It's an unbelievable, in my opinion, unbelievable honor when someone says like, "Okay, I believe enough in you to strap my horse to your wagon."
Yeah.
And my husband was essentially saying that, but anybody who comes to work for you is, hitching their horse to your wagon. It's an unbelievable honor, but it's frightening
Yeah. Well,
too.
you did it, and here you are. And here you are as a midlife gal who's an entrepreneur over 50. And I know because you're like all of the other midlife gals
Yeah.
of doing this in this space that it's not easy because when we're on the other side of 50, midlife stuff comes up pretty regularly. And when you're running a business, this kind of stuff can derail you or can present obstacles and things that really challenge you. And you have to figure things out so that you can keep going forward. So, what has it been for you? What is getting in the way that gives you a hiccup or the
Hiccup, it's
opportunity to create more strategies?
yeah, is it a feature or is it a, glitch?
Yeah.
Um, the biggest thing I've noticed in this period of my life has been it's so cliche, is the sandwich. My
Mm.
mother's 90, has dementia, lives 2,000 miles away from me. My brother lives out there, but, um, and my daughter is a senior in high school. In fact, today, we're going to put all of her applications in. And so I'm taking clients and trying to run my business, but my phone is exploding with her asking me a million questions
Yeah.
and my mom's home health aide asking me a million questions.
Hmm.
And so what I say to people, this is how I liken it in my head, is that it's too many pings to the database, right? When
Yeah.
there are too many, because all I do is make decisions all day. I make decisions for my clients, I make decisions on the business, and now I have to make decisions in the sandwich, if you will. And if there are too many pings to the database, what happens to your computer? It freezes, right? It's just no good anymore because it's just too many things are being asked from it. And I definitely have gotten there sometimes where I have to just be like, okay, everybody's got to stop and I've got to get my focus back.
Right. Because really, what's happening with those pings, it's like multitasking hell.
And I don't multitask well at all. If anyone does, I certainly
Right,
don't.
and I think people don't. I mean, that's what the
Yeah,
research shows, that it's actually switching what you're doing, it's switch tasking, it's not efficient, and then you're right, getting your focus back after you've been interrupted. I think I read somewhere it's 20, 25 minutes to get your focus back.
I'm sure that's true. That's the transaction because I'm in finance. I think of it as transaction costs.
Right,
That's the transaction cost of the time somebody's pinging me to get right back in it, either for the clients or for the business itself.
right, and pinging didn't used to happen, it wasn't a part of our childhood.
My goodness.
We would
I
get a
think of
ping
my
was
parents, yeah.
a ping when we were in high school was somebody remember used to write the notes and make them into those foldy.
Yes,
What are
yes,
those things?
yes.
I'm doing it with my hand,
Yeah, the 4 squares.
the Foursquare thingy, yeah. So
Yes,
people would
yes.
make little footballs out of them, and, my
Mhm.
mom gave me some stuff to look through from the attic, and I could not believe how many notes I'd saved that were all folded like that.
Oh, that's so cute that you saved them. That's great. What a
Oh, I
great
don't know how
memory.
well, maybe it's cute. I don't know. It's just a sign of my enjoyment of keeping things. But anyway,
Possibly that too, but nostalgic nonetheless.
I am very nostalgic. Yeah, but you're right, it's not useful, but that's how we would get interrupted when we went and walked in the hallways, and then we needed to read the thing. It was
Yeah.
nothing like what goes on today. Um, and so how do you manage the focus? Like, when you ask them to stop, do they?
Well, my daughter will if I ask her. It's much harder on my mother's side of things. I would say for sure that is a much more complex and if you will, difficult aspect of my midlife is managing her needs.
Is
Um,
there is there an airport near where she lives?
yeah, she's in Los Angeles.
Oh,
And
okay.
so we go twice a year to see her and but it's this day to day and she's got somebody with her 5 days a week, right? And my brother goes there on the weekend to see her. And so I'm not worried about her minute to minute safety. It's your mom wanted to buy this at the store. Is that okay with you? Like, I mean, it's just constant. And there's thankfully small issues. I can certainly make that decision. That's no problem. But it's just there's so many constant ones along with running and growing the business. And growing the business is what I wake up in the morning to do.
Right, exactly. So, do you end up taking these texts and pings, um, when
No,
you're
I'm
dealing with
pretty
clients?
disciplined
Yeah, like, how do you
now.
do it?
I'm very disciplined now. And I don't think I was as disciplined as I am quite now. Um, you know, the home health aide knows like It could take me a while to get back to you. If it's an emergency that she needs to write a certain thing, and that my daughter, she's going to go off to college here in whatever it is, 6 months. And she knows that if I haven't responded, I'm probably with a client or in a meeting. So she's actually quite manageable. Um, but it's the business while I'm with a client. And so only this year, I've reduced the number of clients I'm taking so that I can better focus on the business. And I've only been able to do that because more of my associates that work for me are full.
Mhm.
And that's
Mhm.
a real wonderful step in the business.
One thing I've done, I realize my husband, when he goes to Costco, and I'm so thankful he does the Costco run on the way home from work, but I'm usually not finished yet when he
Mhm.
is at Costco, and he sends pictures of what's in the cart and asks if it's okay, and he'll send
Yeah.
pictures of, the frozen food area. He sends pictures of, like, 3 similar things, and
Yeah. Yeah.
I can't see, right? So I have to
Yeah.
always stop what I'm doing, press the button, enlarge it, but if I'm working with clients, same, I can't deal with
Yep.
it, and sometimes it's constant, and I'm caught because I'm like, "Wow, he can't he's struggling with this decision." Okay. And
Yep.
I wanna help, but I can't.
But I
Um,
can't right now.
I
Yeah.
can't do it. So I'm trying what I'm doing to cope with it is just telling him I really can't deal with that stuff before 5 reliably, you know?
Reliably. And sometimes what I do is I just we have a word and it goes back and then they know they've got to wait. Got to wait. I don't have that type of husband. My husband works till like 8:30 or 9 every night, and he is not allowed to go to the grocery store because he's kind of got a weird hoarding streak and it would just be too much.
He
So
buys
we
too many things and
Yeah,
the
he
yeah.
buys too many things. So we have our silos, our skill sets in the household, and they worked pretty well for us. But I totally get that. Yeah.
That's so funny. I used to do Costco, but during COVID, he had a pass. He works in healthcare, and Costco gave some perks. Some companies gave perks
Oh,
to
okay.
people who were teachers and doctors and healthcare nurses, and he had something, so he could go front of the line. So during
Nice.
COVID, it transferred to him without a proper conversation, but now Costco's his jam, and I couldn't be happier.
That's great. Yeah, that is great.
So funny. Okay, so how have you noticed that being an older woman affects being an entrepreneur? Have you noticed your age, intersecting in somehow with your entrepreneurial experience? Perception of age, capability, energy, anything like that?
Yes. And I would say, I don't know if you have this experience or others that are listening. Um, you know, we're a financial planning firm, and private equity firms are very interested in buying up financial planning firms.
Oh,
But they buy up people who have what's called a book of business, who have a book, and we don't have a book. We do hourly financial planning. So I get 5 or 6 of these a week. And every once in a while, I take them and they're young male associate kind of people. And it really brings home how invisible I am and how they're thinking of me as like a peer to their mother. And um, it's a very, very different ballgame because when I started in finance as a young woman on the trading floor, the opposite experience was the case where all you were was visible in not the right way, let's just say.
so interesting.
And so that pivot has been very interesting, very, very interesting.
Have you ever um, opened it up for conversation?
You mean mentioned it to people like that
Yeah.
I'm speaking to? Yeah. In that case, no, because I just tell them, we don't have a book and they're not interested anymore or whatever. But it does happen at conferences and that sort of thing. And certainly when I contemplated raising money for this company, um, I was invisible as a middle-aged woman. I
Really?
mean, there were 2 things. One, I'm not gonna get a partner. I'm 58 years old. I'm not gonna get a 28-year-old partner and be 50-50 with them. Sorry, it's just not gonna
Mhm,
happen. And and the second is that I was not the avatar that they were looking for by any
mhm.
stretch. And even when we wanted to get, when I say we, I have a junior partner who's also female, and we really wanted some help from other entrepreneurs. We wanted to join a incubator kind of a situation. Then it's brought home to roost that you are not young and cute and visible in that way, and you are not young in the you're the avatar person we're looking for at our incubator. And I did finally join an incubator with more sort of experienced entrepreneurs, not just in tech, and it's been a great fit.
Wow.
But it's quite apparent if any of your listeners are anywhere adjacent to tech, they probably have at least like thought about the experience I'm talking about.
That's yeah, it is really interesting because entrepreneurs, at least the world I've been in, which is self-development, coaching, I have even joined some groups that are, mixed men and women, and not just coaching, but people with bricks and mortar, and I'm really personally trying to get more exposure to different types of entrepreneurs, and I wanna
Mhm.
understand their situation. I find that groups like that tend to be more open, so I wonder if it's industry, specific where it's
Oh, I think it is. Yes.
because I think men are the minority in these kinds of groups, but even age, the young people tend to be in the minority. With
In
coaching, I
that
think
sector, I think
yeah.
that's probably fair. I think that's a fair point. But we were financial first of all, finance is still very dominated, at least the old finance sector is still
Mhm.
very male dominated. Um, 1 and 2, we have a platform and an app that we developed for our clients, and that brought me into the tech world.
Oh my, yeah.
And so and I had spent time as the CFO of a company in the first internet boom, and so I was not new to this whole thing. And so I think it is kind of sector specific. You know,
Hmm.
people in healthcare or in food and beverage, they might have completely different experiences. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. Okay. And so what would you say is the thing that you really want next in your business? You mentioned growth. Is that the main thing?
Growth is the thing. It is the thing. You know, I love our business model. I love our clients and I love the team I've assembled. And interestingly and fortunately and blessedly, when people know we exist, they come because, many people say things like, wow, I really have been looking for this for a long time. And so once people know we exist, the sell, if you will, is not that difficult because people, they want the advice without the strings attached.
You mean commissions?
Yeah, well, commissions and or turning over all their savings to somebody to
Oh, I
invest,
see. Okay.
right? Assets under management. And so for people who aren't as familiar with this world, there are usually, if you don't mind me taking 2 minutes to explain
No,
this,
I would love to
um,
know.
yeah, there are typically 2 ways to get financial advice. One is you go to a broker, you don't pay them anything, and they're busily trying to sell you all kinds of financial products that most of which you probably don't need. They're not bad and harmful, but they're definitely not optimal. And the other way is what they call fee-based or wrap fee or assets under management, where you turn over your assets, your IRA, your brokerage account, and they invest it on your behalf and they take a percentage of all the assets you have under management. And typically, you need to have a minimum for that. And unfortunately, most of those people making investment decisions do not outperform the S&P 500. So it's a bad decision financially because you're paying these high fees and they're underperforming in most cases, way more than 50% of the cases. And that's what's been available. And so most people in the asset accumulation stage of life, meaning 28 to 55, they're getting married, they're having babies, they're buying their first home, they're making career changes, have been too afraid to get sold stuff, right? Nobody wants to walk in the car dealership. That's not anybody's idea of a fun day.
Mm-hmm.
Um, or they just simply think they're too small, or the advice they need is not related to investments. My basement flooded. The contractor said I need a French drain. It's $20,000 and I don't know what to do. Somebody at a big wealth manager is not going to care. And somebody at a brokerage is also, they're going to point you in a different direction so they can keep selling. So where do you turn? Where do you turn when it's twins? Where do you turn when your kid needs special needs or whatever it is, has learning differences and needs other resources? Where do you turn? The answer is to us because we work by the hour.
So
And
that's really unique. Working by the hour is
very unique.
wow. I
And
never
so
heard of
the
it.
reason that you know, typically underserved communities, women being probably at the top of that list, is because it's super accessible and approachable. I understand what paying by the hour is. That is how I paid the plumber to fix the sink, right? I get that. I understand what no commitment means. I understand what no minimum is. I understand that you're human and you're not a bot because I would say 60% of the time somebody's crying in one of our meetings because it's very hard. It's emotional. It's got all kinds of past experience stuff with it. And you want someone who's going to be empathetic and somebody who you don't have to worry about being sort of ripped off or whatever. It's not that these other people are ripping you off, they're not. It's just that their business model is such that it can be difficult and expensive.
Mhm. So in terms of your growth plan, how do you see that proceeding?
Well, what we're doing now is, we have a really good marketing plan in place. And part of it is me, you know, doing interviews like this one. We do a lot of reels on social. We do a lot of YouTube videos. We're just trying to get the word out there that hourly planning exists. And that's where the growth comes from, hopefully. Knock on wood when I say that.
Yes, of course. And you don't need to be local, you can be anywhere.
Anywhere. You can even live in a foreign country if if you're a US and you're just deployed or you're whatever you are.
Yeah. Oh, it's very exciting, Lori. I haven't heard of anything like this before. I think it's really filling a need. What would you say is the most surprising thing about being a midlife woman who's an entrepreneur?
The most surprising thing. Well, I think I think it's surprising, but my gosh, I love it.
Exactly. There's
Oh
something
my gosh,
when
I love
somebody
it.
who's entrepreneurial, even if you haven't been for 50 years, when you get into it, it's like it's tingly, isn't it? It's like so exciting that it's
Stingly.
tingly. You wake up, you're always thinking about it.
Always in the shower. That's what I say. All I'm thinking about is this business. And unless my daughter is bleeding from the ear, heaven forbid, or something with my mom, all I'm thinking about is how to grow this business. And it's finally, because I've had a lot of jobs in my life where I was like, this is not what I'm meant to do. Finally, I feel like I've hit my stride. I'm like, I think this is what I'm here to do, is to bring hourly financial planning to everyone.
Mm, so
And
exciting.
so, yeah,
So exciting. Lori, how can people get a hold of you?
they can get a hold of me at fearlessfinance.com and take a look at the site. But if you're interested in working with a planner, fill in the form. If you tell us, if you say midlife in the promo code, we'll give you $50 off the first meeting in honor of Suzy.
That's so
And
generous. Thank you so much for that.
no, it's our pleasure. But also on socials, on TikTok, on Instagram, on LinkedIn, and on Facebook, it's Fearless Finance. I think LinkedIn might be fearless-finance, but otherwise, yeah.
And of course, I'll have all of these links in the show notes. And if you were going to drop one little gem for women in midlife and their finances, something that they could start to do relatively easily, relatively quickly, what would that be?
I don't know about the quickly and easily part, but I'm going to say it because it needs to be said. The most important thing for your happiness, for your finances, is your happiness, period. So if you are unhappy with your relationship, with your body, with your job, with your house, with your whatever it is, figure out what's going to make you content. Because that gap, that hole that you're trying to fill is unbelievably expensive. Unbelievably expensive. So if you want to pivot, you're working at some job and you want to pivot and you want to start some business on your own, or you want to figure out how to do it, even if it's a pay cut, because in the long term, it's going to be much better for your finances.
I'm so glad you mentioned that because that's what I do. I help people figure out what they want, get clear about it so they can regret proof their life and increase
Yes.
their happiness. So I love that you thought about it that way, that filling the gap, filling that hole is expensive. It's
It's a
really
lot of years of working with clients and hearing it over and over and over again and seeing it and seeing these gaps wreck people's financial lives.
so good. Lori, thank you so much for taking the time from your day to come on and share your entrepreneurial journey and what it's like to work in finance and how people can get help and, maybe get help that they never even thought was possible for them. It's so, so good. I love what you're doing. You're amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. I really enjoyed it.
Okay, that's it for now. If you're listening and loving what you hear, please like and subscribe. Reviews are great too and much appreciated. And if you're a woman in the middle who's 50 or over and an entrepreneur and would also like to come on the show, please go to www.midlifeinterviews.com and fill out an application. We'd love to have you on to share your story. Thanks so much for listening. It's never too late to put yourself on the agenda. I'm Suzy Rosenstein, and I'll talk to you again soon. Now, real quick, before we say goodbye, if you are connecting with the show and are finally ready to make some changes to regret-proof your life, I want to invite you to apply for the Women in the Middle Academy. It's my transformational midlife group coaching program to help you get clear about what's getting in your way so you can get on with the good stuff. Head over to www.womeninthemiddleacademy.com. Talk soon.